Welcome to Stonyhurst College in the beautiful Lancashire countryside. My name is Jan Graffius and I'm the Curator of Collections here at Stonyhurst. This year we're celebrating the 400th anniversary of the publication of Shakespeare's First Folio in 1623. The importance of this book cannot be overstated. Without it, a number of Shakespeare's most significant plays, such as Macbeth, would have been entirely lost to history. Its importance for literature is paramount, but without it, the English language would not have been the same. We're going to tell the story of Shakespeare's plays through a collection of extraordinary objects held in our museum in an exhibition that is open to the public this summer. Now, we will share with you some of these stories. Lepidus. What manner of thing is your crocodile? Antony. It is shaped, sir, like itself, and it is as broad as it hath breadth. It is just so high as it is, and moves with its own organs. It lives by that which nourisheth it, and the elements, once out of it, it transmigrates. Lepidus. What colour is it of? Antony. Of its own colour too. Lepidus. 'Tis a strange serpent. Antony. 'Tis so, and the tears of it are wet. This amusing and dismissive exchange of comments between Antony and Lepidus is central to the politics of the play Antony and Cleopatra. The crocodile represents Egypt, and the conversation between the two Romans reveals their lack of interest in the animal's cultural significance in any other terms but their own, as they pursue the conquest of Egypt for the Roman Empire. The crocodile in the exhibition is, in fact, a caiman, a South American relative of the alligator. This particular specimen was captured by the famous early 19th century naturalist Charles Waterton, a pupil of Stonyhurst in 1796. His travels in Guyana and observations on the wildlife he encountered were published in 1825 and became a bestseller. He claimed that his experience in riding across the wild Yorkshire dales equipped him with the necessary skills to straddle and wrestle the caiman. His extensive collection of animal specimens was donated to Stonyhurst in 1915 by his granddaughter. Lawn as white as driven snow, cypress black as e'er was crow, gloves as sweet as damask roses, masks for faces and for noses, bugle bracelet, necklace amber, perfume for a lady's chamber, golden coifs and stomachers for my lads to give their dears, pins and poking sticks of steel, what maids lack from head to heel, come buy of me, come buy, come buy, buy lads, or else your lasses cry, come buy. The Winter's Tale is primarily a family drama in which Shakespeare explores such themes as betrayal, jealousy, loss, disguise, and forgiveness, seen through the prism of a father-daughter relationship. The theme of disguise is essential to the play, and the charming confidence trickster, Autolycus, which means lone wolf, takes full advantages of the opportunities to pose as a peddler in order to gain access to the communities he intends to fleece. The travelling peddler was a familiar sight in the 16th and 17th centuries, going from house to house with laces, threads, pins, buttons and beads for sale. At this time in England, Catholicism was illegal and priests risked the death penalty if they were caught. Underground Catholic priests sometimes took advantage of the peddler's ability to travel to various houses without being detected. This late 16th century pony skin chest is typical of the kind used by travelling salesmen strapped to the back of a fell pony. It was used by priests in Lancashire, disguised as peddlers, to transport the vestments, chalices, books and materials they needed to say Mass. She calls me proud, and that she could not love me, were man as rare as phoenix. As You Like It subverts the traditional rules of romance. Gender roles, nature and politics are confused in a play that reflects on how bewildering yet utterly pleasurable life can be. The plot includes a wrestling match, disguised lovers, gods, exile in the forest of Arden, shepherds, and fierce strife between two noble brothers. The final scene reveals the character for who they really are, and love triumphs. The quote appears in a letter to Rosalind, disguised as male Ganymede, written by Phoebe. It hinges on the fact that there was believed to be only one phoenix in the world. In other words, the writer could not love the reader were he to be the last man on earth. The phoenix on this 17th century vestment symbolises the Christian resurrection. The mythical phoenix, after death, rose again from its own ashes, as Christ did 3 days after his crucifixion, and it is often used as a symbol of resurrection in Christian theology. And now this beautiful chasuble is part of Stonyhurst College's prestigious collection of historic vestments. Every tale condemns me for a villain. One of Shakespeare's most famous history plays tells the story of how Richard, Duke of Gloucester, plotted to take the throne after his older brother's death, despite having 2 nephews who were in front of him in the line of succession. In the play, Richard is implicated in the mysterious disappearance of the 2 young boys in the tower, and then took the throne. Richard was defeated and killed in battle in 1485 by Henry Tudor, who became Henry VII. Much of the historical sources used by Shakespeare in his play came from the memories of Cardinal John Morton. He was the tutor to the 2 royal princes who disappeared and was convinced of Richard's guilt in their fate. His views were published by Thomas More, along with his description of Richard's curved spine and malicious nature. Morton threw in his lot with the Tudors and became a highly influential statesman under Henry VII. His skull, seen here, was rescued from the desecration of his tomb during the English Civil War and was smuggled across the Channel to St Omer's, the ancestor of Stonyhurst College, for safekeeping. Today the French, all clinquant, all in gold like heathen gods, shone down the English, and tomorrow they made Britain India. Every man that stood showed like a mine. One of Shakespeare's less frequently performed plays, Henry VIII is thought to be a collaboration of Shakespeare and his contemporary playwright, John Fletcher. It is generally accepted that it was first performed in the reign of James I, Elizabeth's successor, but some scholars think it possible that it was first performed during the last years of Elizabeth's reign and was then amended for the 1613 performance under James. The plot walks a political tightrope in that Queen Elizabeth I was the daughter of Anne Boleyn. Elizabeth's mother was executed by her father, Henry VIII. To avoid having to deal with this awkward fact, the play ends with the birth of the infant Elizabeth. The quote describes the fabulous clothing and jewels worn by the French and English kings and their retinue on the field of Cloth of Gold in 1520. This political meeting was marked by excessive use of rich textiles, gold, jewellery, ostentatious parades, and even a wrestling match between the 2 kings, each trying to outshine the other. The reference to India invokes the reputation in England of the extraordinary wealth of the gold and diamond mines of Indian princes. Here we see a stunning silver-gilt monstrance, a liturgical vessel used at the Catholic service of benediction to display a consecrated host, the body of Christ, to the congregation. As befits such an important ceremony, the most precious metals and highest artistry are brought together. Pious Catholic ladies also donated their diamond jewellery to further adorn the monstrance. This beautiful monstrance has been associated with our school since 1701 and is now the property of the British Jesuit province. I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honourable man. Julius Caesar made a public show of refusing the crown 3 times to try and convince his people that he had no intention of overthrowing the Roman Republic and making himself king. The refusal of the crown was mainly for the benefit of the Republican elite, who despised Caesar, and believed that it was his overriding ambition to end the Republic and make himself king. But those of Caesar's enemies, like Casca, who witnessed his refusal of the crown, are completely unpersuaded by Caesar's performance. They were as firmly convinced as ever of his kingly ambitions. After Caesar's murder, Mark Antony makes his famous speech to friends, Romans and countrymen, in which he undermines Brutus's claim that Caesar was ambitious and whips up the crowd to avenge Caesar's death. This baronet's coronet was made for Lord Arundel, who attended Stonyhurst in 1796. Arundel wore it at the coronation of George IV in 1821. In accordance with George's lavish personal tastes, the coronation was the most extravagant ever staged and was marked by controversy, as George's estranged wife, Queen Caroline, was locked out of the Abbey during the ceremony. She wanted to be crowned alongside her husband. The two loathed each other, and the sight of the Queen banging at the locked door caused a scandal. Thank you for watching. We hope you will enjoy this unique and alternative way of celebrating Shakespeare and the Stonyhurst First Folio.